The month of April has come to a close, and so that means I'm gonna rank all 7 April movies that I watched from the worst to the best. Hi, my name is Nathan, and I talk about a bunch of movies on this channel. If you're new here, down in the comment section, share your ranking of the April releases that you saw, and if I missed something that you think I would enjoy, share that down below in the comment section. Over on my channel, I have more content like this. Check those out once this video is over. And if you enjoyed this video, click the like button and be sure to subscribe because it really does help a lot. Now, as for me, if you're wondering why I'm a bit later to posting this video, I normally would post these videos at the beginning of May, is when I would usually post this. But, I was just caught up on a lot of things in April, so I wanted to catch up on some things in April before I actually filmed this video. So I saw some movies. I didn't watch everything. I wanted to see Challengers. I wanted to see The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Those are some on here that I wanted to see, but I didn't get around to seeing them. So I'm just going to stick with these 7, and let's begin the ranking. Easily in last place for me, Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver. As a point of reference, I saw like half of these movies in May, not April. And when it comes to Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver, I saw this movie for the first time just about a week ago. And while the Snyder visuals do stand out, overall, this is a movie that did not work at all for me. The story, what made this movie very clear to me was that the story didn't need to be split up into 2 parts. It's very derivative of A Bug's Life and Star Wars and all this other stuff that Snyder takes inspiration from. He just plops it into this sci-fi adventure. All of the characters aren't very interesting. You even have like a scene where they're like sitting at a table and talking about their backstories, and none of it is that compelling or interesting. None of that adds more to the character. Barely anything happens in the first 45 minutes other than like epic farming sequences with the Zack Snyder slow-mo. And the last 80 minutes are just CGI noise, and not good CGI noise either. It's just noise in the background. The characters are quite bland, like I said, and you don't really care about the story at all. It's not as emotional as the creators want it to be, because the story is just so derivative. We've seen this type of story before, and it's even kind of cheesy and cringy. There's a sequence where children give the main characters a set of blankets, and they're just like, hey, see, you're the heart of the group, so we put a heart on your blanket.
Wow, this is garbage. You actually like this?
Do we see, like, some of that was just really cheesy to me. So overall, this is a movie that just did not work at all. Number 6, The Greatest Hits. If you don't know what this is a Hulu original romance drama time travel movie. It's a time travel romance drama. It is marketed as that. It is sold as that. I did not see the trailer before I watched this movie. I only knew the premise, and since I like time travel movies, Back to the Future is my favorite movie. I decided to give this one a shot. And unfortunately, like, while this movie can be sort of romantic at times, it overall as a whole didn't particularly work for me. Part of that is I just thought time travel played a very little part in the plot of this movie. It kind of wastes the time travel because one of the pieces of information is even when you time travel, you can't really change what happens in the past. So you kind of waste the time travel concept in a way. And it all leads up, it's about like her trying to stop the death of her boyfriend, and then she meets somebody new, so she's trying to figure out, do I rescue this guy? Do I start dating this new guy? And it sets up this character arc and they didn't do much with it. It sets up like a character arc about like moving on and stuff like that, and they don't do that. They do something else, and the ending that they did go with, it just wasn't all that satisfying for me. It didn't do anything for me really to enjoy. And so overall, while it does have time travel elements to it, it's a pretty bland rom-com. Or not rom-com, but romance drama. It's pretty bland. Number 5, Monkey Man. To be clear, gap. Big gap from The Greatest Hits to Monkey Man, because I enjoy Monkey Man a lot more than I did The Greatest Hits. And so Monkey Man is an action movie with Dev Patel in his directorial debut. I was pretty late to this one. I finally saw it. And as awesome as the trailers made it out to be, as awesome as I thought it was going to be, I thought it was just a solid, good action thriller. It's not particularly great. I think it's a good debut for Dev Patel. And what was impressive about this movie is that it had a low budget of just $10 million. Dev Patel has even said sometimes that he used his iPhone on a majority of the shots in this movie, which is kind of impressive because some of the action in this movie is really cool when it does happen. And what I appreciated about this film as well is that he decided to infuse some Indian culture into this film. And so I thought, while it was also like a revenge thriller, he also tried to infuse his own sort of beliefs and ideas inside of it. But I also thought that was kind of the movie's liability. With the Indian culture and stuff, he leans so much into that, especially in the second half of the film, that, I don't know, the actual main plotline of the revenge plot kind of felt sidelined to me. It didn't feel as prominent as it did before in the film. Likewise, the pacing was not very good, where like every 5 to 10 minutes they do flashbacks of him and his mom. I feel like if all of that had been condensed into the cold open and you just had the rest of the movie afterwards, it probably could have been a better flow, a better narrative. But as is, it just is a kind of a weird way to pace things. And other times, like, this is not like non-stop action, so there's all these sequences where characters are talking, it's setting up a lot of things, and then big bombastic action, then it does the setup again, and then it does big bombastic action. There are really only 2 action sequences in this entire movie, and I don't mind that. I just think it could have been balanced and paced a little bit better. So I liked the film. I thought it was a good directorial debut. I'm excited to see what Dev Patel does next. I wasn't really as good as I was hoping it would be. Number 4 is Arcadian. If you don't know what this is a smaller indie film. It cost less than $1 million to make. Its reported budget is like $897,000 or something like that. Pretty cheap budget here. And it's a Quiet Place type thriller. That it's like, it's kind of like that, but like it's without the whole sound aspect. And so I think it's a good version of a familiar template. I've seen this type of film before. Quiet Place is the perfect example of that. And it's a good version of that. That just happens to have Nicolas Cage. He's not the main character in the movie, but he's a good actor, a dramatic actor when he's in the film. It's really small scale. It doesn't have a lot of characters. It's not like it's trying to be like the biggest movie out there. It's a small, low-budget, independent film. I thought what really stood out of the film was that the creature designs and how they attack, what they look like. That kind of stood out, especially for a movie that's under $1 million. That was the thing that just really popped about the film. So overall, a nice, small little creature feature with Nicolas Cage in it. That it didn't do anything to like blow my mind. It was familiar. I've seen this movie before. But it was a good version of a movie that I've seen before. In third place, The First Omen. This was a movie that I was very cynical going into. As soon as I found out that this movie existed, I went, really? What are we doing here? We're doing a prequel to The Omen. And before I'd seen this movie, I'd not seen a single Omen movie. And so I watched through the entire franchise. Maybe I'll do a ranking of them. I was very cynical going into this film, as I didn't think The Omen was a movie that needed a prequel. But it was a nice, pleasant surprise as a prequel to The Omen.
You surprised me.
Where it's a prequel that's actually an interesting sort of mystery thriller about this conspiracy in an orphanage. There's some nice twists and turns that explain sort of the birth of Damien and how that came to be, and it just fit really well, surprisingly. It's able to be unsettling. A lot of stuff that comes with like the birth sequences, and it's violent and gory, but it doesn't like, it's not like in your face violence and gore. It actually has creepy imagery, thrills and chills that are, I think, earned in this film. Now, it doesn't particularly feel like a film in the Omen franchise. It's kind of missing all of those mysterious deaths. There's very few of that into this movie, and because it's like in a monastery with nuns, it kind of feels more generic than it actually is, because of the just sort of inherently kind of bland setting of the film. And I think some of the, yet again, like I bring up again, the pacing just could have been a little bit better, could have been a little shorter, but overall, actually kind of a pleasant surprise, because I didn't go into this movie expecting to enjoy it, and I had a good time with it. Our runner-up is Abigail, and Abigail is a film that another one that I was late to. It was one that I did want to see back in April, but I ended up seeing it in May. Essentially what this is it's a action horror kind of movie. It's like an action horror movie about a group of people who kidnap a little girl and try to survive her wrath as they discover that she is a vampire. And so for me, it was just a really fun, small-scale horror movie. It is from Radio Silence, the directors of the past two Scream movies, as well as Ready or Not. And they bring all their tricks and in their way they do the horror genre very nicely into this film. It has a really nice set of characters where all of them stand out in a way, and they're all just really charismatic and they're really fun to watch battle a vampire. It could be really funny at times. It's very gnarly, and there's some very nicely done action and thrills where it's probably the most violent movie I've seen this year, where characters are just like exploding and limbs are being torn off and heads are being cut off. Like, it has all that gnarly stuff. And so it's just a movie to me that's just a really fun time. Once again, it's like, it's not the most ambitious movie. It's not trying to have big gigantic character arcs or anything, but I thoroughly enjoyed this one. It's one that I could find myself rewatching, and it's a very entertaining vampire film. But coming in first place for me, it's going to be Civil War. Now, I know this movie is very, very polarizing over the past month since it's been released. Another one where I was late to it. I saw it a couple weeks after its release. And given this placement, you can see that I really, really did enjoy this film. And what I appreciated about it is that it's a very different war film than usual. It's not set during World War I or World War II. In fact, it's set during a fictional American Civil War, and the point of view is not shown from soldiers. It is shown from journalists, reporters that just travel across America just trying to report what's really going on. And in doing so, I think that was a really, really fascinating way to look at this film, as it doesn't show the clear good guys, the clear bad guys. It's not as clear as most war films who's good and who's bad. And I think that was what's really cool about this movie, is that it doesn't show the perspective of one side, rather it just shows the perspective of several sides, or at least the character's interpretation of this Civil War. I just thought that was really a clever way to show the perspective from these reporters. They're also played by very good actors and actresses who are very convincing in their roles. And what it does, from the point of view, it also shows the bleakness of modern warfare, modern humanity. And because it's set in a fictional war in the present day, it feels a little bit more grounded and realistic compared to our reality, compared to stuff that's just set in World War I. This one feels more grounded to our reality in today's society. Amazing cinematography is present throughout the entire movie, where it will show burning cities that are beautiful to look at. They're great shots, but it's also horrifying to look at the same time. and there's several interpretations of what's going on in the Civil War. At a lower budget movie at like $50 million, it all just looks very convincing, and it looks very real, especially since it's set in the modern day. And so for me, this is a one that really, really worked for me. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. It's probably my favorite movie of the year. So I know this is a hot take, but for me, it is my favorite movie of April. There you have it. That's my ranking of the 7 April movies that I saw. Down below in the comment section, share your ranking of the new April releases you saw over at my channel. I have more content like this. Check those out right now. Click that like button and be sure to subscribe. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to the end. I will see you in the next one.